Poland has recently intensified its monitoring of borderlines with Kaliningrad, the Suwalki Gap, and Belarus. The Warsaw government is concerned about Russia's continued interactions with the United States in recent times. The fear is that if NATO doesn't increase its defense spending, Vladimir Putin might be emboldened to attack again, lacking sufficient deterrence. The Poles, possessing NATO's third strongest army, are thus reinforcing security measures along their borders. Warsaw declares its primary mission is to protect national borders. For this purpose, military units of the Polish army, including K2 and Abrams main battle tanks and armored vehicles, are deployed along these lines. Their secondary task is to support Ukraine. Recent reports indicate that the United States has frozen its military support to Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump has paused all military aid from Washington to Ukraine. The Warsaw government recently made critical evaluations regarding this news. It confirmed that the U.S. has stopped its military aid to Ukraine and did not consult its allies before taking this step. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, speaking before a cabinet meeting, stated that border reports from his center in Jasionka confirmed the statements made by the American side, and that the aid had been cut off. This development puts Poland and Ukraine in a very difficult situation, Mr. Tusk said. A spokesman for the Polish Foreign Ministry said that the U.S. had not consulted its allies before deciding to freeze aid. Referring to the Polish Foreign Minister's remarks, Prime Minister Donald Tusk gave important messages on defense measures. He thanked the Minister for Funds and Regional Policy for starting work on finding ways to transfer 30 billion zlotys, or €7.21 billion, from the EU COVID bailout fund to defense spending. Mr. Tusk added that he, like other EU leaders, had received a letter from European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen proposing a plan for the rearmament of Europe. Poland has long called on its allies to increase military spending, and this year will allocate 4.7% of its GDP to defense spending. But for the Warsaw government, there is one more thing that needs to be done in addition to increasing defense spending: to increase military support to Ukraine. While the EU has recently announced a substantial budget, the Polish wing has also initiated important work in addition to this support move. Now, we will take a closer look at what kind of military aid steps Poland has taken. In addition to EU aid, we will analyze how the Warsaw government is supporting Kyiv. We will also look at how this affects the relationship between Poland and the United States. But first of all, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications and like us so that you can stay informed about our content. Let's get started without wasting any time. First of all, let's talk about Poland's latest military aid for Ukraine. Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz announced that Poland is preparing to make its 46th donation to Ukraine, worth over €200 million, underlining the country's leading role in providing aid and reiterating its determination to continue its support for Kyiv. Kosiniak-Kamysz stressed that Poland, as a country, is a leader in providing military assistance to Kyiv. According to the defense minister, in the early days of Russia's war against Ukraine, when some countries were wondering what to give and examining their stocks, Poland sent tanks, heavy equipment, and ammunition. It delivered everything that was possible. Speaking about Poland's donation of €200 million, Kosiniak-Kamysz pointed out that this was more than some European countries had spent during the entire war. Warsaw will continue to support Ukraine, Kosiniak-Kamysz said, not only by providing military equipment and other resources, but also by training Ukrainian troops. According to the minister, about one-third of the 80,000 to 90,000 troops trained by European Union countries, or 28,000 Ukrainian soldiers, were trained by Poland. Now Warsaw is emphasizing solidarity and deepening relations with Ukraine through a new $200 million aid program. Vasyl Bodnar, Ukraine's ambassador to Poland, said the aid package should reach Ukraine by the end of the month. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Poland has been the main hub for military and humanitarian aid to its neighbor. More than 90% of the aid to Ukraine comes from the Jasionka airport in southeastern Poland. What military resources did Poland transfer to Ukraine via this route or other routes? Poland sent T-72 tanks and BWP-1 infantry fighting vehicles mostly in the spring, summer, and autumn of 2022, when Ukraine needed them most. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Poland sent 14 MiG-29 fighter jets, 11 Mi-24 attack helicopters, 14 Leopard 2A4 main battle tanks, about 30 PT-91 Torty main battle tanks, and about 280 T-72 main battle tanks. The list also included 50 Rosomak APCs with Hitfist 30 turrets, about 400 BWP-1 armored fighting vehicles, 54 155mm Krab self-propelled howitzers, about 30 122mm 2S1 Gvozdika self-propelled howitzers, and about 35 122mm BM-21 Grad MLRS systems. In fact, the number of military vehicles and equipment sent by Poland to Ukraine is not limited to these. The list goes on and on. The main reason for providing so much aid is Poland's desire to limit Russia's advances. That is why the government in Warsaw is giving Ukraine its full support. In addition to this support, the Polish wing also expresses that they will not remain unresponsive in the event of a possible Russian attack. Rajmund Andrzejczak, former chief of the General Staff of Poland, stated that Ukraine had given them a few years, and that if Russia won in Ukraine, there would be one Russian division in Lviv, one in Brest, and one in Hrodna. Rajmund Andrzejczak said that if Russian troops crossed the Lithuanian border, there would be an immediate response. Mr. Andrzejczak added that they would hit all strategic targets within a radius of 300 kilometers in the first minute, not the first day. The Polish general even said that they could attack St. Petersburg directly, sending a strong message of intimidation to Russian President Vladimir Putin. In order to avoid escalation of tensions, Mr. Andrzejczak argued that European countries should take the initiative in their own hands and make it clear to Russia that an attack on Poland or the Baltic states would be the beginning of a full-scale conflict. Mr. Andrzejczak believes that this is the only way to deter the Kremlin from such aggression. To this end, Polish military officials have said that they have purchased 800 missiles with a range of up to 900 kilometers to be used against a possible Russian attack. In other words, war bells were already ringing in the Baltics. In particular, the U.S. military support for Poland is seriously strengthening Russia's potential rival. The U.S. has agreed to provide the Polish armed forces with 96 AH-64E Apache helicopters at a cost of $12 billion as part of Poland's Kruk program. In April 2022, Poland ordered 250 M1A2 SEPV-3 Abrams main battle tanks with a full support package and ammunition. Deliveries began in June 2024 under a separate agreement. In 2022, the U.S. Army transferred 28 M1A2 SEPV-2S for training Polish crews. Poland also ordered 20 M142 high-mobility artillery rocket system, or HIMARS, launchers and several related launcher-loader module kits. The Poles will also receive 45 M57 Army tactical missile system, ATACMS, and range alternative warhead pods. The first shipments arrived in mid-2023. To support HIMARS, Poland ordered 300 South Korean K-239 Chunmoo MLRS in August 2022. Deliveries began in 2023. Under the terms of the 2022 agreement, South Korea-based Hyundai Rotem agreed to supply Poland with 180 K-2 MBTs, a training, guard, logistics package, and ammunition for the tanks by 2025. An executive contract worth $2.4 billion was signed on August 26, 2022, for the purchase of 212 K9A1 155mm self-propelled howitzers manufactured by the South Korean company Hanwha Defense as the first batch order. In addition, Poland signed an agreement with Korea Aerospace Industries on July 28, 2022, for 12 FA-50 Block 10 and 36 FA-50 PL Block 20 supersonic training aircraft. On the other hand, Poland was investing in its air capabilities and working to modernize its 48-strong F-16 fleet. They were willing to donate existing F-16s to Ukraine in exchange for newly built Block 70 aircraft. But this is now being done by Denmark and the Netherlands. Poland is also interested in the futuristic Orca-class submarine recently planned for the Royal Netherlands Navy and built by the French Naval Group. In the face of Poland's enormous military power, its agreements with other allies. And with all this military aid coming from Asia and NATO to Warsaw, Russia's chances are diminishing even further. In addition to all these factors increasing Vladimir Putin's fears, Poland has a highly ambitious technical modernization plan for its armed forces. The plan currently estimates spending $131 billion on new equipment between 2021 and 2035. For example, the Harpia program, launched in 2018, aims to replace Soviet-era MiG-29 and Su-22 fighter jets over the next decade. The program includes the purchase of 32 F-35A Lightning II fighter jets. As part of Poland's Narrow Air Defense Program, MBDA will provide an advanced mobile air defense system capable of dealing with threats up to 40 kilometers and beyond, using the CAMMER missile developed in collaboration with the UK and Italy. This contract, worth over $4 billion, involves an unprecedented transfer of key technologies. Under this program, the Polish PGZ-NARO consortium will produce more than 1,000 CAMM air defense missiles and over 100 launchers. With such innovations, military agreements, and the development of national production, the Warsaw government is sending a strong message to Putin about what he would face if he ever invaded Poland. By taking such steps in military innovation, Poland is aligning itself with an EU-centered doctrine in support of Ukraine. The Warsaw Wing is also well prepared to counter Moscow's unpredictable moves. If Putin turns to Poland after Ukraine, he may face an unexpected and critical surprise. Currently, around 10,000 U.S. Armed Forces personnel are deployed in Poland, primarily as part of a rotational presence. The V Corps Forward Headquarters, located at Camp Kosciuszko in Poznan, is a key U.S. military facility in Poland, ensuring a permanent U.S. Army presence. NATO members, especially the United States, strongly back Poland in this matter. One of the most significant proofs of this support is the massive military facility of the International Alliance in Powidz. Financed by NATO at a cost of more than $360 million, construction of the Powidz site began in 2020 and is now fully operational. It spans 650,000 square meters, including warehouse facilities, vehicle maintenance and support structures, and 58,000 square meters of ammunition storage. Recently, 14 M1 Abrams battle tanks and 1 M88 armored recovery vehicle arrived at the Army Prepositioned Stocks 2 construction site in Powidz. Located approximately 250 miles west of the Ukrainian border, this facility houses 85 battle tanks, 190 armored combat vehicles, including the M2 Bradley, and 109 artillery pieces, such as the M109 Paladin self-propelled howitzer, along with substantial ammunition reserves. Maintained by the 405th Army Field Support Brigade, this facility is recognized as NATO's most significant single infrastructure project in over 3 decades. Lieutenant Colonel Omar McKen, the brigade's commander in Poland, stated that Powidz has the capability to fully equip any deployed armored brigade arriving in Europe within 48 hours. Indeed, all these military developments, security measures, and NATO facilities represent incredible advancements for Poland. Military experts emphasize that Poland's position was not always this strong, but it has evolved over time as Russia's threats increased. But was this always the case? Historically, Poland balanced its relationship with Ukraine amid political changes and concerns about the lack of military support from Europe. During that time, Prime Minister Donald Tusk's government faced criticism for advocating a less interventionist approach, which some argued deprived Ukraine of adequate support at a crucial moment. Critics contended that this stance reflected Poland's increasing reliance on U.S. directives. Earlier, both Tusk and Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski defended the government's cautious approach to Ukraine, opposing the direct participation of Polish troops in peacekeeping missions. They asserted that Poland, under EU pressure, should prioritize strengthening its own borders rather than engaging directly in the conflict. Sikorski, in particular, insisted that Ukraine could handle Russia alone, emphasizing the importance of political rather than military support. This perspective is indeed an interesting anecdote. Over time, as we mentioned earlier, Poland's stance has shifted significantly. However, Warsaw has maintained its close ties with Washington while intensifying its support for Ukraine. At the CPAC conference, Tusk was praised for aligning with U.S. interests and maintaining strong relations with Trump's administration. Meanwhile, Poland's political opposition has voiced concerns that such alignment could jeopardize European unity. Recent statements from Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz highlight the complex dynamics shaping Poland's international role. Tusk recently took to social media to address the stark choice Poland and the broader European community face: a free and sovereign Poland within a strong Europe or Russian dominance. His statement came amid rising tensions between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during their White House discussions. Defending Poland's approach to the peace process, Kosiniak-Kamysz stressed the need to resume U.S.-Ukraine negotiations. During a ceremony commemorating the Day of Remembrance of the Cursed Soldiers, Polish fighters who resisted Soviet rule after World War II, Kosiniak-Kamysz echoed the prevailing sentiment among Polish leaders regarding the necessity of American involvement in securing peace. As for the evolving relationship between Ukraine and the United States, new developments continue to emerge. Just days after Zelensky was reportedly asked to leave the White House following a heated argument with Trump and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, he announced Ukraine's willingness to sign a mineral deposit agreement with the U.S. In his address to Congress, Trump acknowledged Zelensky's proposal, but the specifics and timing of the agreement remain unclear. Under this agreement, an investment fund for Ukraine's reconstruction would be established, co-managed by Kyiv and Washington. According to Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, the fund would operate on equal terms between both nations. As outlined in the agreement, Ukraine would transfer 50% of future revenue from state-owned mineral resources, including oil and gas, to the fund, which would then invest in Ukraine's security, stability, and economic growth. Meanwhile, the U.S. government would commit long-term financial support to Ukraine's development, subject to U.S. legal provisions. Zelensky is pushing for a version of the agreement that includes a solid U.S. security guarantee. However, no such guarantee has been provided yet. The published text states that the U.S. supports Ukraine's efforts to secure lasting peace through security assurances. At this critical juncture, the United States could assert Poland's presence in the equation. If the Trump administration believes that Russia might breach the agreement and attempt to exploit Ukraine's mineral resources, particularly in the Donbass, Poland could play a strategic role. For now, the Warsaw government is not in favor of sending peacekeepers to Ukraine. However, this stance may change over time, especially if Trump puts forward a compelling proposal. Thank you for watching.